My fiance gave me his heart, but I broke it before even saying I do by hooking up with the one man who hurt him the most. My fiance Alex, not his real name, 32, is or was everything I ever dreamed of finding in a partner. At 28, I thought I had finally found my fairy tale ending. We've shared 4 beautiful years together, and we were supposed to celebrate our love with a wedding on December 28. The timing seemed perfect. Everyone would already be in town for the holidays, making it convenient for our guests. But now, that dream has turned into my worst nightmare. Let me tell you about Alex. He's not just handsome in a classical way, with his tall frame and captivating smile. He's the kind of man who notices the smallest details about you and treasures them. Once, while we were browsing through an antique store, I paused for just a moment to admire a vintage butterfly ornament. Months later, on my birthday, he presented me with that exact piece. He had secretly returned to the store, remembered which one had caught my eye, and kept it hidden all that time. That's just who he is, thoughtful, attentive, and incredibly loving. Our intimacy was always passionate and tender, making me feel both desired and cherished. Sure, we had our disagreements like any couple, but they always felt manageable, like small waves in an otherwise calm sea. With Alex, I felt not just safe and loved, but truly seen and understood. When we first started dating, we had the inevitable conversation about our past relationships. Mine were few but significant, 3 serious boyfriends before Alex. But there was one who would come back to haunt us both in ways I never could have imagined, Jake, another alias. Jake was like a force of nature, the kind of man who could eclipse the sun itself when he walked into a room. With his perfectly tousled dark hair, piercing green eyes, and a smile that could melt steel, he had this raw magnetism that drew everyone into his orbit. When he chose me to be his girlfriend, I felt like I'd won some cosmic lottery. Our physical connection was electric, almost primal, the kind of passion that makes you forget your own name. But that's where the magic ended. Behind that mesmerizing facade lurked a soul of shadows. Jake was a master of emotional manipulation, leaving me waiting for hours at restaurants while my food grew cold, forgetting my birthday while posting about other social events on Instagram, and missing my best friend's engagement party because he was too tired, though I later discovered he was at a beach party with other girls. The cheating was like death by 1,000 cuts, little hints here and there, lipstick stains that he'd explain away, late-night texts that he'd quickly delete. When I finally gathered the courage to end things, he didn't even give me the dignity of a response. He simply vanished like morning mist, leaving me to question if what we had was ever real at all. When I told Alex about Jake, I never expected the bomb that was about to drop. As I described Jake, I watched Alex's face transform from curiosity to shock, then to a deep, haunting pain. It turned out Jake had stolen Alex's high school sweetheart during their freshman year of college, a girl Alex had planned to marry. Jake had later discarded her like yesterday's newspaper, and when she tried crawling back to Alex, he refused, telling me later that her betrayal had made her repulsive in his eyes. The revelation cast a shadow over Alex for days, though he eventually emerged from it, stronger and more committed to our relationship than ever. Then came that fateful night of my bachelorette party. The Airbnb we'd rented was a luxurious beachfront property, all glass walls and modern furniture, with the sound of waves creating a hypnotic backdrop to our celebrations. My bridesmaid Claire, in what she thought was a stroke of genius, had invited our old friend group as a surprise. The moment Jake walked through those glass doors, time seemed to stop. He looked even better than I remembered. Age had only refined his features, adding a touch of sophistication to his dangerous allure. The night progressed in a blur of champagne bubbles and pulsing music. Jake's eyes never left me, tracking my movements across the room like a predator stalking its prey. He was subtle at first, a brush of his hand as he passed me a drink, a knowing smile when our eyes met across the room, whispered compliments that sent shivers down my spine. The alcohol flowing through my veins made everything feel dreamlike, surreal. I knew exactly what I was doing when I followed him to that bedroom, despite what I'd tell myself later. The guilt was already there, a small voice screaming in the back of my mind, but the pull of our old chemistry was like gravity itself, inevitable and overwhelming. In that moment, I wasn't thinking about Alex, or our future, or the years we'd built together. I was lost in a haze of nostalgia and desire, chasing the ghost of a passion that had once consumed me. The morning after was like waking up in a horror movie of my own making. The sunlight streaming through the windows felt like an accusation, each ray highlighting my betrayal. Jake tried to speak, his words dripping with false sincerity about how he'd changed, how he wanted to make things right, but each syllable made my stomach turn. I practically shoved him out the door, his promises of discretion echoing hollowly in my ears. Claire, the only witness to my moment of madness, tried to brush it off as one last wild night, but her words felt like acid on my conscience. The days that followed were a slow descent into hell. Food turned to ash in my mouth, sleep became an elusive stranger, and my wedding dress hung in my closet like a ghost, mocking me with its pristine whiteness. Every time I caught a glimpse of it, my stomach would lurch and I'd find myself hunched over the toilet, heaving up guilt and shame. The weight of my secret was crushing me, making my clothes hang loose on my frame as my appetite vanished completely. Alex, sweet, wonderful Alex, noticed the change in me. How could he not? I was a shadow of myself, jumping at every text notification, flinching when he touched me. I fed him lies about having the flu, and he responded with such genuine concern that it felt like daggers in my heart. He'd show up at my door with homemade chicken noodle soup, his mother's recipe, the steam rising from the container like the warmth of his love that I no longer deserved. Each act of kindness was another twist of the knife I'd plunged into his heart. Then Thursday evening came, and my carefully constructed house of cards came crashing down. Alex's absence after work felt different somehow, heavier, more ominous. When my phone buzzed at 9 p.m., my heart stopped. There it was, a photo that would destroy everything. Me and Jake, caught in that moment of weakness, the evidence of my betrayal frozen in time. No words accompanied the image, none were needed. Panic seized me like a vice. My fingers trembled as I frantically texted Claire, only to discover she had been the harbinger of my doom. Her response, "He deserved to know the truth," felt like a final nail in the coffin of my happiness. I bombarded Alex's phone with calls and messages, each unanswered attempt another crack in my already breaking heart. The dreaded read receipts under my desperate pleas were like tiny daggers, each one a reminder that he was seeing my words but choosing not to respond. The social media announcement was like a public execution of our relationship. Alex's words, "The wedding is cancelled because the woman I thought I was marrying turned out to be someone I didn't know," spread through our social circle like wildfire. Each notification, each message asking what had happened, was another lash of the whip I deserved. I tried to damage control with lies about an argument, but the truth was already seeping out like poison. Jake's appearance at my apartment was the universe's cruel joke. His attempts at apology, his claims of ignorance about Alex being my fiance, made bile rise in my throat. The sight of him standing there, trying to explain, made my skin crawl. I slammed the door in his face, his presence a reminder of everything I'd thrown away for a moment of misguided passion. The final blow came Saturday morning. Mark, Alex's brother, arrived with 2 groomsmen, their faces masks of cold disappointment. They moved through our apartment like ghosts, efficiently packing away Alex's life. Each item they removed another piece of my heart being torn away. My pleas for information about Alex bounced off them like rain off glass. Mark's words about the engagement ring, that Alex didn't want it back because it was as worthless as our relationship, were delivered with the precision of a surgeon's knife. Reality crashed down on me like a tidal wave as I stood in our half-empty apartment. The space that once held our shared dreams now echoed with absence. The practical consequences of my actions began to materialize like vultures circling overhead. I couldn't afford this place on my own. Alex had been the one handling our rent and utilities while I managed our day-to-day life, planning for a future as a traditional wife and mother. I'd even let my personal trainer certifications expire, confident in the path we'd chosen together. Now that path had crumbled beneath my feet, leaving me scrambling for solid ground. The exodus of friends from my life has been swift and absolute. Social media, once a source of joy and connection, has become a wasteland of unfollowed accounts and unanswered messages. Claire, the friend I'd known since college, has become a ghost, her last message to me being the one that destroyed my world. I understand their distance now. After all, if I could betray someone as wonderful as Alex, what kind of friend could I really be? My parents' house looms in my future like a lighthouse of shame, a beacon of failure I never thought I'd return to. They don't know the full story yet, just that the wedding is off. The weight of their inevitable disappointment sits heavy on my chest, making it hard to breathe. The conversation that's coming will be like walking through fire, but it's a punishment I've earned. The worst part isn't the practical chaos I've created, though that's devastating enough. It's the silence from Alex that's killing me slowly. His complete radio silence is deafening. There's no anger, no accusations, no chance for me to explain or apologize. He's simply excised me from his life with surgical precision, leaving me to bleed out emotionally while he moves on. The fact that he's covering the wedding costs and my portion of the lease feels like a final act of kindness I don't deserve, making the pain even more acute. To Michael, his real name, because he deserves at least this much truth from me, I know these words will never reach you, and even if they did, they would mean nothing. But I need to say them anyway, to scream them into the void. I'm sorry. Those 2 words feel pathetically inadequate for the magnitude of my betrayal, but they're all I have. You were everything good and pure in my life, and I shattered that with my own hands. You gave me your whole heart, and I treated it like it was worthless, all for a moment of hollow pleasure that now tastes like ashes in my mouth. When I'm old and gray, even if I somehow find someone else, though right now that seems impossible and almost offensive to consider, I know you'll still occupy a corner of my heart. Not because you're my one that got away, you're the one I actively destroyed, the one I pushed off a cliff while he was reaching out to give me the world. The magnitude of what I've lost hits me in waves, each one threatening to drown me in regret. Now I'm left with the monumental task of rebuilding a life I single-handedly demolished. My belongings sit in boxes around me, physical reminders of my transgressions. Each item I pack is a memory I'm forced to confront. Photos I can't bear to look at, gifts that now feel like accusations, plans, and dreams reduced to waste. The future I'd so carefully planned has evaporated like morning dew, leaving behind only the harsh reality of consequences. The commenter who said my friends are justified in leaving was right. Trust, once broken, shatters like fine crystal. If I could betray someone I loved as deeply as I loved Alex, what else am I capable of? It's a question I'll be grappling with for years to come, a scar I'll carry on my soul forever. The person I thought I was, loyal, loving, worthy of trust and affection, has been revealed as a facade, and I'm left staring at a stranger in the mirror. This is my confession, my penance, my scarlet letter written in pixels and tears. Let it stand as a testament to how quickly one can destroy everything they hold dear, how a single moment of weakness can unravel years of love and trust. I am the architect of my own destruction, and now I must live in the ruins of what could have been.